In a tense exchange inside the Oval Office, former US President Donald Trump confronted one of the thorniest issues in the Middle East, the future of the occupied West Bank. Taking questions from reporters, he made his position on Israel's recent push for annexation unmistakably clear. Donald Trump said, "I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen." Pressed by a journalist on whether he had spoken directly with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about this position, Trump responded candidly. Donald Trump said, "Yeah, but I'm not going to allow it. Whether I spoke to him or not, I did, but I'm not allowing Israel to annex the West Bank." This firm declaration marked a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over Israel's control of Palestinian territories. The West Bank, alongside Gaza and East Jerusalem, has been central to decades of conflict and peace negotiations. Israel seized these areas during the 1967 Middle East War. Since then, the question of sovereignty over the West Bank has remained at the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. For decades, Palestinians have envisioned these territories as forming the core of a future independent state. However, Israel has expanded settlements in the region, altering the political and demographic landscape. Today, more than 500,000 Israeli settlers live in about 130 settlements scattered across the West Bank. The international community, including countries such as France, Canada, and the United Kingdom, regards these settlements as illegal under international law and continues to recognize Palestinian aspirations for statehood. This week, tensions escalated when members of Netanyahu's far-right coalition government renewed calls for the full annexation of the West Bank, a move that has drawn criticism from global powers and inflamed regional tensions. For Trump, who is keen to project leadership in brokering Middle East diplomacy, this posed a fresh challenge. Analysts say annexation would not only complicate Trump's efforts to expand the historic Abraham Accords, a series of normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab nations, but could also shut the door on bringing Saudi Arabia into the fold. The former president has repeatedly signaled his desire to broaden the Accords as a cornerstone of his Middle East strategy. An expert interviewed on the matter highlighted the stakes for both leaders. Annexation brings headaches certainly for President Trump, but even for Prime Minister Netanyahu, that neither of them need at the moment, the expert noted. Donald Trump would like to advance his agenda of expanding the Abraham Accords to include Saudi Arabia, and annexation would completely foreclose that. And so I think he's really speaking to that audience in particular. The upcoming Oval Office meeting between Trump and Netanyahu, set for Monday, promises to be the most consequential of their 4 encounters this year. Both leaders face immense domestic and international pressure as they navigate this critical juncture. For Trump, the challenge is maintaining his image as a deal-maker who can advance peace while protecting American interests. His statement rejecting annexation underscores the balancing act he must perform, standing firm against actions that could derail regional diplomacy while still preserving ties with a key US ally. For Netanyahu, who faces mounting pressure from his coalition partners and from hardline voices within Israel demanding permanent control over the West Bank, the meeting represents an opportunity to secure US support, or at least understanding for Israel's security concerns. Yet Trump's unambiguous words signal that such support will not come easily. Observers point out that this confrontation is not merely about territory, but about the broader geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Annexation, they warn, could ignite widespread unrest, damage Israel's relations with Arab neighbors, and derail fragile peace initiatives that have been years in the making. The United Nations and multiple human rights organizations have consistently argued that Israeli settlements in the West Bank violate international law, specifically the Fourth Geneva Convention, which prohibits an occupying power from transferring its civilian population into occupied territory. Calls for annexation, therefore, have drawn condemnation from much of the international community. In Washington, Trump's comments resonated as both a warning to Israel and a message to Arab partners in the region that the US remains committed to a negotiated two-state solution. By explicitly rejecting annexation, he positioned himself as a guardian of international norms while also protecting his own diplomatic agenda. The stakes are further heightened by the domestic political situations in both countries. Trump faces criticism from some of his supporters who advocate for a more uncompromising pro-Israel stance, while Netanyahu must manage the expectations of his right-wing allies without alienating key partners abroad. The White House meeting, analysts predict, will be dominated by these tensions. Issues of security, diplomacy, and the future of Palestinian territories will likely take center stage, overshadowing other regional topics. The question now is whether both leaders can find common ground or whether their differences on annexation will deepen the rift. Trump's bold refusal to endorse annexation reflects a growing recognition in Washington that unilateral moves in the region often have far-reaching consequences. The US administration, while supportive of Israel's security, has historically opposed actions that undermine prospects for peace. As the world watches, the outcome of Monday's meeting could shape the trajectory of Middle East diplomacy for years to come. Trump's declaration in the Oval Office was not merely a statement of policy, but a signal to allies and adversaries alike that he intends to play a decisive role in the region's future. For Palestinians, the former president's comments may offer a glimmer of hope that the US will continue to oppose measures seen as undermining the creation of an independent state. For Israelis, particularly those in the settler movement, it raises questions about how far their government can go without jeopardizing crucial ties with Washington. The Oval Office exchange underscored the complexity of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a struggle defined by decades of war, diplomacy, and competing national narratives. Trump's emphatic words, delivered in response to a direct question from the press, added a new chapter to this ongoing saga. As the cameras rolled and the reporters jotted down his responses, Trump's message was clear. The United States would not stand by as Israel moved to annex territory central to future peace negotiations. Donald Trump said, "I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen." This single statement, repeated for emphasis, reverberated far beyond the Oval Office, reminding both allies and rivals that in the fraught politics of the Middle East, Washington's stance remains a critical factor. With Monday's high-stakes meeting approaching, all eyes will be on Washington to see whether Trump's words translate into diplomatic leverage and whether Netanyahu adjusts his government's course in response to US pressure. As one regional analyst put it, the meeting could be the most important of their encounters this year, determining not only the future of the West Bank, but also the broader direction of US-Israeli relations at a pivotal moment in the Middle East.